Thanks for joining the Asia Regional People's Assembly 2023. I'm Pradeep Besak. I'm the Asia Coordinator of Global Call to Action Against Poverty, GCAP. We'll have this session for 2 hours. I'll take you through the sessions. But before that, let me welcome all of you from all the organizations. It's a civil society initiative. Civil society energy put together from Asia are doing this regional assembly coordinated by GCAP. Colleagues, you may know that this year, the Agenda 2030, the SDGs media, they're doing a mid-term review of SDGs. This is being reviewed by the UN General Assembly, where the global leaders will take stock of the progress of SDGs and they'll discuss the way forward and all. So for us, this is an opportunity as civil society to bring forth the voice of the communities, the recommendation of the civil society, and give inputs to this whole process of SDG review. We are doing a series of people's assembly. In fact, you may know that we have been doing the assemblies since 2019, and this year we are doing more than 40 or 45 national assemblies. There are several sub-national assemblies which are happening. We're doing at least 3 regional assemblies, one in Asia, one in Africa, and one in Latin America. And then finally, all these processes will converge in the Global People's Assembly, which will be happening on 17 and 18 of September in New York. The SDG Summit is happening on 18 and 19. So we'll be doing the Global People's Assembly on 17 and 18. So that's kind of almost a parallel process. We'll also be chipping in with the UN systems to give our inputs. I really do not want to spend too much time on setting the context in terms of raising the issues in Asia, because we know it. The issues of poverty and hunger are on the peak. Post-pandemic, inequality has risen. Climate crisis is always there, not only in Asia, across world. And then many countries in Asia are also facing the debt crisis. So in this situation, and with this complicated situation, we actually want to see global leaders act. Not only global leaders, but also leaders, our own leaders should act, and particularly take priority steps for protecting the interest of the marginalized groups who are our constituencies. Groups like the indigenous communities, the Dalits, the elderly people, the persons with disabilities, so on and so forth. There are several such communities we are working with. So colleagues, what now I'll do is to take you through the program, so that you are now convergent with the program. Then we'll start it. We'll hand over to the moderators. Let me quickly come to you now. Okay. Dosto, one more thing before I do that, there is interpretation. जिनको यहाँ इंटरप्रिटेशन है, हिंदी में भी, इंग्लिश जो अंग्रेजी में बात हम लोग कर रहे हैं, इसकी हिंदी इंटरप्रिटेशन है. आप अगर हिंदी में सुनना चाहेंगे, पूरा बिलो जाइए, नीचे जाइए, एक ग्लोब सा एक है, इंटरप्रिटेशन लिखा हुआ है ग्लोब में, वहां क्लिक कीजिए. आप और हिंदी सुनना चाह रहे हैं पर्टिकुलरली, वहां क्लिक करेंगे तो वहां एक हिंदी ऑप्शन आएगा, हिंदी लिखा हुआ, उसमें क्लिक करेंगे तो ये सारे जो हम लोग कन्वर्सेशन कर रहे हैं तो आप हिंदी में सुन लेंगे. Sorry, colleagues, I was just explaining to the colleagues from India and to some colleagues also from Pakistan who want to listen this conversation in Hindi. They can take the opportunity of this interpretation which is available in Hindi. So let me share then the program schedule, and then Okay. So colleagues, we are dividing this whole 2-hour session into 4 sessions. First, we will be hearing from we'll be hearing the voices of the community. That's in fact our objective, that to gather the voice of the communities, marginalized groups, to flag up their issues and demands. That is first session, which will be moderated by Ziaur Rahman from Awaz Foundation. Then we will also have an interface with the members of parliament. We'll have some members of parliament and one colleague from UN SCAP will also be joining us. And that session will be moderated by Mustafa Talpur, Oxfam Asia. After these two sessions, we will break out, all of us at civil society and communities will break out into 4 parallel sessions. These are the 4 parallel sessions. That option will be available once we go to that session, which will be moderated by Anselmo Lee, a PhD coordinator. So we'll have 4 breakout sessions: right to health and universal health coverage, food, hunger and poverty, democracy and civic space, climate justice and disaster. So once we are there, we'll be breaking out to all these 4 sessions. Moderators and reporters of each session, please take note to join your respective sessions. I'm not announcing their name, they are already moderator will do. But other colleagues who are not moderator and reporter as participants can choose your group and you can join there. Once that is done, that will be like 25 minutes, and then all the groups will then converge after 25 minutes and present the issues and demands in these groups in plenary. And in these groups, all of you will be participating and sharing your thoughts. So that's all about the sessions, colleagues. We also have other colleagues who are doing some background management. Let me read out the name of the organizing partners, colleagues. Global Call to Action Against Poverty, Asia Dalit Rights Forum, Global Forum for Communities Discriminated by Work and Decent, Asia Civil Society Partnership for Sustainable Development, Asia Democracy Network, Asia Development Alliance, People's Vaccine Alliance, Asia Chapter, Oxfam Asia, South Asia Alliance for Poverty Eradication, Action Aid International Asia Region, Aided Action International, Wadana Todo Abhiyan, NGO Federation of Nepal, Philippines Rural Reconstruction Movement, Noakhali Rural Development Society, Sri Lanka, United Nations Friendship Organization, Sanai Development Organization, Afghanistan, Pakistan Development Organization, One Singapore, Africa Japan Forum, and Coordination Committee of Cambodia. With this, I invite my friend and colleague Ziaur Rahman, who is Executive Director of Awaz Foundation, Pakistan Development Alliance, to do the first session. Over to you, Jia. But before that, is the interpretation clear है क्या सबको? एक बार बता दें तो ज़्यादा अच्छा रहेगा. Okay, शायद clear है. ठीक है, Jia, then you can take over with the first session. Jia, yeah.
Thank you very much indeed, Pradeep, and welcome everybody in the first session of the Regional Assembly. GCAP, Global Call to Action Against Poverty, has the privilege to reach out to the marginalized communities in Asia and across the world, and we have this privilege to hear the voices from the citizens, voices from the community who have been facing challenges related to poverty, inequality, social protection, other social amenities, including right to health, right to education, right to life, and so on and so forth. We see that this poverty and inequality is rising in the Asian region during the last, since the adoption of the SDGs. We have witnessed that there are certain, actions taken by the states and the governments. Policies are being introduced, but these policies are not facilitating poor and marginalized achieving their aspirations of life. So Today, in fact, we decided to reach out to the marginalized communities and to hear from them. Unfortunately, due to the internet availability in those areas, it would not be possible to invite them directly to interact with you guys. But we have actually recorded their messages in this session. And we are very, very thankful to the Asia Regional Coordination Office, Pradeep, who actually made this possible to get all these recordings from Myanmar, from India, and from Philippines. So today we will be inviting four of our community leaders, community activists, who will be sharing with you their concerns and challenges related to poverty, hunger, access to health and welfare, and whatever the exclusions they are facing and the challenges that they are facing in terms of fundamental human rights, democratic rights and cultures and values. So let me just, in the beginning, let me just first ask Pradeep to share with us the video of Miss Rebecca Miranda. She is a former farmer by profession, like she has been doing work in an agriculture field in Philippines. Let's hear what she says about her plight.
Okay. You can see the video, Jia?
I can see the picture, but the video is not running.
Here you go.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Suffers from the effect of climate change and jeopardize our resource and livelihood. It also affects our health.
Maybe we can play it from the start.
Unpaid care and domestic work, resulting to plastic unstable most of us also don't have social protection. I think social protection is important because it will ensure health care and income. Important because it support also provide support for our family in case of emergency.
Was the voice clear enough? We actually struggled quite a lot to get this voice from Philippines. Thanks to Tessa for doing it. I also struggled to send the video because it's a typhoon there. But I think the member is here already.
I think I sent a clear version to Divine, so maybe we can reshare the video from the start. Thank you.
No, I actually started it a little late because there's little lack of clarity in the initial.
So yeah. I think whatever I have heard, Pradeep, she was talking about the impact of climate changes and the challenges related to the social protection in the rural areas of Philippines. And this is not the only woman in Asia. We see that the similar situation, the woman in India, the woman in Pakistan, the woman in Bangladesh, and women in Sri Lanka, who have been actually working in the agricultural sector, they are victims of climate changes. They are facing challenges related to the social protection. They are not getting wages as per the minimum wages of the country. They are underpaid as compared to the men. So it's lots of discriminations that women have been facing, and no formal social protection policies and frameworks are actually applied to the women agriculture workers in any region of Asia. So largely she was talking about these issues. Let me just ask Pradeep to run the video of Miss Shanti Devi. She is a Dalit woman from India, and she will be talking about access to health related issues.
Okay, here is the video. Yeah.
हाँ से और आप क्या करते हो?
हरियाणा से शादी रात है।
आप क्या करते हो?
वकील काम करते हैं।
आप घर में काम करते हो। ठीक है। कोरोना के दौरान आपको किस तरीके की किन समस्याओं का सामना करना पड़ा?
हमको तो घरों में काम करने से मना कर दिया गया। हम घरों में फिर जा भी नहीं पाए हमने। फिर उसने बोले कि मतलब टीका लगवा के आओ तो हम काम पे रखेंगे। फिर हमको तो डर लगता था कि हम कहीं कुछ मेरे को हो ना जाए, हम कैसे टीका लगवाएं। फिर मेरे को लगवाना पड़ा कि हमारी मजबूरी थी टीका लगवाने का। हमारे पास कोई साधन नहीं था, कोई अकेले कमाने वाले थे हमने।
जैसे जिस तरीके से लोग बात कर रहे थे कोरोना के टीके के बारे में, बहुत सारे लोग इस तरीके की अफवाहें फैला रहे थे कि मर जाओगे टीका लगवाने
हाँ,
से।
तो
क्या
मतलब उसको कह रहे थे कि मतलब जैसे हम मर जाएंगे, हम कारण टीका लगवाने से नहीं
संयोजन गर्ने सहयोग दिनुपर्छ भन्ने चाहिँ हामीले केन्द्रबाट हाम्रो चाहिँ सृजनाज्यूहरूले चाहिँ भन्नु पनि भएको छ। त्यो गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ सजिलो हुन्छ। अनि बजेट
This background noise, can you stop this? Yeah. Yeah.
फिर हम काम पे जाने लगे।
तो कोरोना के दौरान आप कितने घरों में काम कर पा रहे थे? क्या आपको
10 कोटिया का आसपास थे।
क्या कुछ लोगों ने आपको काम पे आने से मना किया? क्योंकि उस टाइम पे सरकार ने लॉकडाउन लगा।
7-8 कोटिया का 8 कोटी 7 का मना कर दिया।
तो 2-3 घर में आप कर पा रहे थे काम। क्या आपको किसी तरीके की बीमारी का सामना करना पड़ा?
नहीं, मेरा तबीयत खराब था, बुखार था, मतलब मैं नहीं जा पाई काम पे। फिर टीका लगवाए, जब जा पाए हमने।
इन अफवाहों के बावजूद भी टीका लगवाने से लोग मर रहे हैं। आपने टीका क्यों लगवाया और क्या सरकार की तरफ से कुछ कदम उठाए गए थे जागरूकता को लेकर?
बड़ा आदमी ने बोला कि हमारे यहाँ बिना टीका के नहीं आ सकते, और वो बहन ज्यादा करते हैं, इसकी वजह से ने मुझे कोरोना का टीका लगवाना पड़ा।
सरकार की तरफ से जागरूकता को लेकर कुछ किया गया?
नहीं,
कुछ नहीं किया गया।
नहीं।
क्या कोरोना के दौरान आपको किसी तरीके के भेदभाव का सामना करना पड़ा?
वो तो भेदभाव ही ऐसा करना पड़ा कि मतलब हम सरकारी में लेके जाओ, तो जो बड़ा आदमी रहते थे उनसे अच्छा, और हमसे तो इतना हम लोग जाते थे तो दवाई भी नहीं देते थे, आनी बेड भी नहीं दिया। हम प्राइवेट में जाए तो इलाज भी नहीं हो सकता था हमारा ढंग का, और पैसे भी नहीं थे, हम कैसे इलाज कराएं।
जिस तरीके से सरकार ने कुछ स्कीम्स निकाली हैं गरीब लोगों के लिए, जैसे आयुष्मान भारत योजना है या इस तरीके के कई स्कीम है जो सरकार गरीब लोगों के लिए लेके आई है, क्या उनका लाभ आपको मिला?
नहीं, हमको कोई इसके बारे में कोई पता ही नहीं चला।
आपको कार्ड के बारे में नहीं पता था?
कुछ नहीं पता। मेरे पास ना आधार कार्ड है, ना राशन कार्ड है, ना ये जो फैमिली आईडी होती है हमारे पास ये भी नहीं है, पैन कार्ड है वो भी नहीं है।
तो आप सरकार की किसी भी स्कीम का लाभ नहीं उठा पाए? क्या आपको जो राशन मिल रहा था?
नहीं, हमको कुछ नहीं मिला,
क्योंकि आपके पास कागज नहीं थे।
नहीं, बिना कागज के कुछ दिए नहीं रहे हैं।
तो क्या जिन घरों में आप काम करते थे उनकी तरफ से आपको किस तरीके की कोई सहायता मिली?
नहीं, हमको कुछ नहीं मिला।
आपको कुछ नहीं मिला।
हमको तो काम पर से हटा भी दिया गया। तो लोगों ने जो जिसको जो ज्यादा वो करे वो आपको हटा दिया। मतलब ये तो हमारे कोरोना ना हो जा, इसकी वजह से मुझे हटा दिया गया वहां से।
So that is the message, yeah.
So, yeah, I think it was a very clear message from a domestic worker from India. She was sharing the challenges that they faced during the COVID-19 and the kind of facilitation being provided by the government at various levels. They were unable to reach out to those facilities. They were being kicked off by the employers, because of the fear of spread of COVID. And the similar stories we heard from many parts of Asia, particularly from the South Asian region. If I talk, I'm from Pakistan. If I talk about women in Pakistan, almost 13 million women in Pakistan do not have their computerized national identity cards. So they did not have access to even the COVID vaccine, because the vaccine was supposed to be given only to those women who used to register their CNIC through the mobile messages. And those who do not have access to the mobiles, they were unable to send their CNICs to the prescribed number at the National Database Authority. So these were such some of the major impediments that actually kept our poor and marginalized communities away from access to the health system, access to even the information, access to the facilities that were being provided by the state authorities during the COVID vaccine. Now, I think, given the time, I left with only 5 minutes. I hope that Pradeep would allow me another 5 minutes, because we have 2 more voices from the communities. Let me just request Sashi Bargati, an elderly woman from India, and she will be talking about access to the shelter and housing. Pradeep, can you run her message?
The previous video on Dalit was shared by Vinay from Asia Dalit Rights Forum. So let's thank him. So this video has been shared by Jyoti from Aided Action. Let me run it.
Pradeep, we can't see the video.
Oh, sorry. Let me share it. Sorry. Okay, that was
so, colleague, I think, yeah, so sorry for disruptions in the video, but I hope that you people have got the message. She was talking about the situation and about her housing. The elderly people in our region actually they face lots of challenges. They face neglect not only by the state but also by the society. Uh, uh, we see that the social protection policies related to the elderly people are not actually the states are not delivering such social protection policies and taking actions to protect their rights at one end. The other end, the society is also not actually giving them that space so as they can have a protected and healthy life. So in our region, the number, as we know that the youth is in great number, but at the same time, this transformation of youth in coming years into the elderly people will be seen soon. Currently in Pakistan, we see that we have 7% elderly people, whereas we are expecting that by 2030, the number would be up to 11%. So it's a huge number that the elderly people's needs and their requirements, particularly related to the social protection, their health needs, their housing needs. So I think the states should ponder upon the needs of the elderly people in the region. Let me just now quickly invite Mr. Ko J. Pine from Myanmar, and he will be talking about the human rights situation in Myanmar. Pradeep, can you please run his message?
Yeah.
အားလုံးမင်္ဂလာပါကျွန်တော်ကတော့မြန်မာ Press Photo Agency MPA ရဲ့ editor ချုပ်ခြေပိုင်ဖြစ်ပါတယ် Asia Regional People Assembly မှာဒီလို message ကပြောင်းဝင်ပေးတဲ့အတွက်ပွဲစီစဉ်တဲ့သူတွေပေါ့တက်ရောက်လာတဲ့အဖွဲ့အစည်းတည်တည်မှဂုဏ်သိက္ခာလူကြီးအားလုံးကိုပထမဆုံးအနေနဲ့ကျေးဇူးတင်စကားပြောချင်ပါတယ်မြန်မာနိုင်ငံမှာစစ်တပ်ကအာဏာသိမ်းတာရပ်ပေါင်း900ကျော်ပဲဖြစ်ပါတယ်ဒီမိုးပြန်လည်ရရှိရေးအတွက်ယနေ့ချိန်ထိပြည်သူတွေကပြည်လန်ပေါင်းဆောင်တဲ့စစ်ကောင်စီကိုစန့်ကျင်တော်လှန်နေရရှိပါတယ်ဒီတော်လှန်ရေးကိုလူဦးတော်လှန်ရေးလို့ပြည်သူတွေကနာမည်ပေးထားကြပါတယ်စစ်ကောင်စီကလူဦးတော်လှန်ရေးမှာပါဝင်သူများနဲ့ပြည်သူတွေကိုရဲရဲဆက်ဆက်အကြမ်းဖက်ဖြိုခွင်းတပ်ဖြတ်ဖမ်းဆီးသလိုစစ်ဖက်မဟုတ်တဲ့အရက်ဖက်နေရာတွေကိုလည်းလေရင်နဲ့ပုံကျဲတိုက်ခိုက်ခြင်းတွေကိုယနေ့အချိန်ထိကျူးလွန်လျက်ရှိပါတယ်အဆိုးဆုံးကိုပြောရမယ်ဆိုရင်စကိုင်းတိုင်းကမ်ဘလူမျိုးနဲ့ပစီကြီးကျွေးရမှာရှိတဲ့စစ်ဖက်မဟုတ်တဲ့တားနေရာတွေကိုလေရင်နဲ့ပုံကျဲတိုက်ခိုက်ခြင်းဖြစ်ပါတယ်ရင်းဖြစ်စမှာကလေးသူငယ်နဲ့အရက်သားပြည်သူ130ကျော်တည်ဆုံးခဲ့ပါတယ်လူဦးတော်လိုင်းမှာပါဝင်ခဲ့တဲ့ဖြစ်မတရားဖမ်းဆီးထောင်တွင်းအကျဉ်းချခံနေရတဲ့လူ2000ရှိပြီးရင်းတို့ထဲမှာတည်တဲ့ကြမှတ်ခံထား145ဦးရှိခဲ့ပါတယ်လူဦးတော်လိုင်းကာလအတွင်းတည်ဆုံးခဲ့ရတဲ့ဒီမိုစီရေးလှုပ်ရှားသူများနဲ့ပြည်သူ4029ရှိခဲ့ပါတယ်အထေကမှလွတ်လပ်စွာထုတ်ပေါ်ပြောဆိုခွင့်အတွက်သတင်းရယူပြီးပြည်သူလူထုသတင်းသိပိုင်ခွင့်အတွက်စူးစမ်းနေတဲ့မြန်မာသတင်းသမားတွေကိုစစ်ကောင်စီတွေကမတရားဖမ်းဆီးတပ်ဖြတ်တာသတင်းတော့ရှိခဲ့ပါတယ်။သတင်းတော့တွေကိုဖမ်းဆီးတပ်ဖြတ်တွေကသတင်းမီဒီယာလွတ်လပ်ခွင့်အောက်ဆုံးစီရောက်နေပြီလို့ပြောလို့ရပါတယ်။စစ်ကောင်စီအာဏာသိမ်းမှစတင်ပြီးသတင်းတော့တွေကိုဖမ်းဆီးတာအင်ဘတ်နှိပ်စက်တာလိမ်ပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာအကြမ်းဖက်ဆော့ကားမျိုးကျူးလွန်သဖြင့်သတင်းတော့250ခန်းမျက်စက်ဒေတာကိုလုံခြုံရေးအပြောင်းရွှေ့လာခဲ့ရပါတယ်။2021ခုနှစ်ဒီဇင်ဘာလ9ရက်နေ့မှာဆန္ဒပြပြည်သူများကိုပြည်ကြယူနေတဲ့မြန်မာ Press Photo Agency MPA ရဲ့သတင်းတော်နှုတ်ကိုလည်းစစ်ကောင်စီကကားနဲ့တိုက်ဖြတ်ဖမ်းဆီးခဲ့ပါတယ်။ကားနဲ့ဝင်တိုက်တဲ့အချိန်ဒီကြောင့်သတင်းတော်နှုတ်ကအပြည့်ထန်နိုင်ငံရရှိမရှိထောင်တန်းချခံရဆဲဖြစ်ပါတယ်။ရှင်းမြန်မာသတင်းတော်မျိုးသားတအုပ်ကိုလည်းစစ်ကောင်စီကအုပ်စုပွဲအာဏာကျင့်ခြင်းအမျိုးသမီးသတင်းတော်များအပေါ်လိမ်ပိုင်းဆိုင်ရာအကြမ်းဖက်မှုများကျူးလွန်ခြင်းတွေကိုလည်းပြုလုပ်ခဲ့ကြပါတယ်။ဒီနေရာမှာသတင်းသမားတွေအကြောင်းကိုအသင်ပြောဆိုနေရလဲဆိုရင်မြန်မာဒီမိုစီအရေးတိုက်ပွဲဝင်နေတဲ့လူတွေကြားမှာသတင်းသမားတွေရဲ့အခမ်းအနားဟာမြင့်ပြောက်ခံထားလို့ပဲဖြစ်ပါတယ်။ကျွန်တော်တို့မြန်မာ Press Photo Agency MPA သတင်းဌာနကလည်းစစ်ကောင်စီရဲ့လူမျိုးတုံးတပ်ဖြတ်မှုလူ့ခွင့်ရေးချိုးဖောက်မှုများကိုမှတ်တမ်းတင်ပြီးနိုင်ငံကိုတင်ပြနိုင်ဖို့စူးစမ်းနေတဲ့သတင်းဌာနတစ်ခုပဲဖြစ်ပါတယ်။ဒီပြင်မှာသတင်းအချက်လက်စုဆောင်းတဲ့သတင်းတောက်တွေအားနည်းသွားတဲ့အတွက်ဒီပြင်မှာအချက်လက်တွေကိုစူးစီးတင်ပြနိုင်ဖို့ citizen channel CG များကိုလည်းစနစ်ကျတင်နန်းပေးပြီးသတင်းတွေကိုရယူပါနိုင်ငံတော်ကိုသိရှိအောင်တင်ပြလျက်ရှိပါတယ် citizen channel နဲ့သတင်းသမားများရေရှည်ရပ်တည်ပြီးလုပ်ငန်းများလှုပ်ဆောင်နိုင်ဖို့နဲ့မြန်မာပြည်အရေးကိုနိုင်ငံကပုံမှုသိရှိပြီးရေးဆိုင်နိုင်ဖို့အတွက်သတင်းသမားများနဲ့မြန်မာမီဒီယာတွေကိုယခုထက်ပိုကူညီပေးကြပါလို့သတင်းသမားတွေကိုစာတင်နေရနေတောင်းဆိုလိုက်ပါတယ်မြန်မာပြည်အရေးကိုလည်းအမိမထားကြဖို့တောင်းဆိုလိုက်ပါတယ်အားလုံးကိုကျေးဇူးတင်ပါတယ်
Thank you very much for playing this very important video message, Pradeep. Mr. Pang was sharing about the situation of violation of human rights in Myanmar, and it was quite clear. I think most of you were able to read out the subtitles. Those were in English. We have seen that the violations of human rights are everywhere. We are witnessing that the agenda of freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of association is lagging much behind. In Asia, we have been observing this rise of extremism and fundamentalism almost in every state. Be it Bangladesh, India, and Nepal, and Pakistan, the militarization of society is rising, and these are actually fundamental challenges to the fundamental human rights of the people who are living in these part of the world. So the regional assembly would be demanding today immediate attention of state authorities and the international community to look into these matters, because we see that the civic rights and civic spaces are shrinking every passing movement, every passing day. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we have heard 4 different voices from four different corners of Asia, from different countries of Asia. We've heard about poverty, we've heard about the climate challenges, climate-related challenges. We have heard about the challenges related to access to health, and we've heard about the challenges of elderly people and fundamental human rights. We hope that the Assembly moving forward will reflect further on it, and the next session that is actually where our policymakers will be talking, they will definitely reflect on these challenges of the marginalized communities. So I thank you for your time and attention, and hand over to Pradeep.
Thank you. Thanks, Jia. Chepang is here. If you can wave your hands just to acknowledge, open your video. I cannot see you. Or can speak if you are there. Okay, maybe he's not. He told that he would be there, but okay. Rebecca is here, Tessa. We just want to acknowledge that she's also here. Okay, so thanks, Jia. Let us then. Time becomes really constrained with so much programs packed. I will request Mustafa Talpor, Oxfam Asia, to take over the next session, which is where we'll hear from members of parliament and member from SCAP. Mustafa, over to you.
Thank you, Pradeep, and thank you, colleagues. This is a very good solidarity assembly, and I, from Oxfam, I just want to confirm that we are with the colleagues all around the South Asia. We heard a very moving stories from 3 people. So this is the true reflection of South Asia, how people feel discrimination left behind. So this rising tide in South Asia is not lifting all the boats. And
across
some
Asia,
people,
in fact,
across Asia. And I think on top of what has been already told, the poverty, injustices of inequality, discrimination, challenges in public services, rising cost of energy, food inflation. On top of that, when people resist, their voices are being muted. So states and governments, rather than supporting their citizens, are really becoming totalitarian and closing the space where people come together and put their demands. So that is another bigger challenge for all of us in Asia, most of the countries. So let's move now to taking keep of the time. We have 3 speakers, 2 from the parliaments and 1 from UN Escape, a prominent UN body that works with the governments in Asia. So first of all, I would like to request our chief guest for today's event, Mr. Prakash Pantha. Mr. Prakash is currently the chairperson of the Sustainable Development and Governance Committee in the Federal Parliament of Nepal. Welcome, Mr. Prakash, in this People's Assembly, and floors is yours. Now you heard people, and we would like to really have your quick remarks on how the parliaments and governments are responding or should respond to these growing challenges in Asia.
Thank you. It's my turn.
Yes, it's your turn from 5 to 7 minutes.
Thank you. Are you listening my voice?
Yes, very clear.
Thank you. Now I'm going to start. Everybody, good afternoon from Nepal. Honorable members of parliamentarians, former senator also, environmental affairs officer of the UN Escape, all the organization and civil society organizations, and all the participants who have joined from different countries and organizations. First of all, my sincere thanks to the organizers for providing this opportunity to me. I lead the Parliamentary Committee on Sustainable Development and Good Governance in Nepal. We have been quite active and have been closely monitoring the situation of the implementation of the SDGs. We have been providing solutions and feedback to the government to make the development action more inclusive, just, and transparent. At the same time, I have always emphasized the role and participation of the civil society and civil society organizations in achieving the SDGs. The Parliamentary Committee on Sustainable Development and Good Governance has been closely coordinating with Nepal SDGs Forum and NGO Federation of Nepal for the effective implementation of the SDGs. I recently led a parliamentary team to the high-level political forum in New York. After returning from the HLPF, we also made reflection and shared our learning by organizing a meeting in coordination with NGO Federation of Nepal. Effect of the COVID-19 pandemic and the global economic slowdown have emerged as the new challenges to achieving the SDGs, and particularly to ending hunger, poverty, and inequality also. Universal health coverage and universal social protection are indeed necessary to ensure delivery of basic service and fundamental right to the people. Arrangement of resources, inclusion of the targeted group and communities in the social security scheme, and coverage of the health insurance and service are to be emphasized. When it comes to SDGs, we face financing gaps also. Localization has been challenging, and monitoring and data gap also need to be strengthened. In increased level of international cooperation and partnership will be useful to meet our resources needs, learn from each other, and also find way to mitigate climate change impacts and build resilience to the disasters. Waivers and the preferential treatment in terms of trade. Intellectual property right and technology transfer will be helpful for the countries like Nepal. Governments need to act in a more transparent and accountable way to make the development and growth more sustainable and inclusive. Finally, organized actions and advocacy of civil society at the regional and global level are very important. Civil society organizations are also an important stakeholder for the SDGs. Every government should acknowledge the role and strength of CSOs and utilize their strengths. At the same time, CSOs need to be more effective and transparent and prove themselves by their actions. I extend my best wishes for the success of this Asia Regional People's Assembly, as well as the global process of the civil society for the SDGs. Once again, I thank you for inviting me to these events. It has been a good opportunity for me listen and learn the civil society's voice, which must be addressed by the governments, development partners, and consideration concerned authorities also. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Prakash, for your very encouraging remarks. And it's really encouraging to note that this parliamentary committee in Nepal is working closely with NGO Federation and other development partners and taking a very inclusive approach to development. Very important issue raised by Mr. Prakash around financing SDGs. So where the money should come from? It's very good to say that everything should be there. So I think since many years, the civil society in Asia and globally has been asking to have a more progressive tax regime rather than relying on debt finance mechanism. There are rich people in Asia and everywhere, and they need to contribute more and their fair share to have a domestically mobilized resources to fund these programs. So I think this is an important element that the colleagues who work in parliaments or member of parliaments can bring in. And especially the multinational companies who operate in Asian countries don't pay their fair share. So that's important point. Let's move to the next speaker. Next speaker is Honorable Mr. Faratullah Babar. Babar Saab has been a very progressive and sane voice in Pakistan for his whole life, struggling for democracy. And he is the former senator. So Senate is the upper house of parliament in Pakistan. So floor is yours, Babar Saab, for 7 to 8 minutes.
Thank you very much. Am I audible? Is that okay? The audio level is okay?
Yes,
Or
perfect.
should I close the video anyway? If that's okay, thank you very much. I should first begin by complimenting the organizers of the People's Assembly of Asia for organizing this talk among a large number of people, you know, the youth, the parliamentarians, the policy makers on a very critical issue of, you know, the widening inequality among the people, the climate disaster, the worsening food and etc., and also the achievements of SDG goals. So I really welcome this. This assembly is very timely. It's very timely because in a few days from now, the UN SDG summit will be held, and it will also take account of what the governments have promised and what the governments have achieved in this respect. So this is very timely, and I welcome that. The first point I want to make is that there is, number one, no dearth of commitment by the governments for improving the welfare of the people, for improving the human rights, and for women empowerment, and all these nice things. There is no dearth of commitment. I can speak of the government of Pakistan and of the Pakistan's political parties. Well, Pakistan's parliament was the first in the world to endorse SDG goals, Pakistan's parliament also set up a caucus on the achievement of SDG goals. Pakistan has ratified also in 2008 the IESCO. All these kind of things are there. And of course, Pakistan's constitution also promises all the human rights, and there is also jurisprudence on this. But the net result is disappointing. The net result is disappointing because, in spite of the promises and the commitments made, there is no implementation. And I can't speak about other countries in the region, but I can speak about Pakistan. Now, what are the issues in the SDGs and the human development? In my view, the first issue really is the rise of the security state and the decline of the welfare and right state. When a state rises, when the security state rises, and there is the state is driven by a security paranoia rather than by the welfare of the people, then all the resources of the state, the narrative of the state, and everything that the state does is geared towards what it believes security threat, security perception. It does not take care of the human welfare. So that, in my view, is number one issue: the rise of the security state versus the decline of the welfare and democratic state. The states, therefore, the first call that I would like to make is, if there is a declaration at the end of this assembly, is that this assembly should view with concern the rise of the security state in the region, and it calls upon the governments and the state to give more attention to the welfare and human rights driven state. The second thing that I want to mention is that there is room for collaboration among the countries in the region. Now, the climate disaster, the environmental disaster is upon all of us. And no matter whatever we may say that the international community has wronged the developing world because the developing world has not contributed to the carbon emissions, but the developing world, particularly in our region in Asia, the climate disaster, the environmental change is because the global warming and the melting of the glaciers. And the glaciers are Himalayan glaciers, and they are common. Therefore, I think that the countries within the region should initiate a dialogue on at least compiling a data of the glacier melting, because glaciers are melting and they are creating havoc in Pakistan and India and elsewhere. So my second point is that there must be a regional dialogue on climate change with particular focus on melting of the glaciers. The third thing that I want to make is that there is complete lack of women empowerment, both political and economic. Bangladesh, I must say, has made great progress in women empowerment. But in my country, at least, I can say that women empowerment, both economic and political, a lot needs to be done. And since women constitute 50% of the population of the country, if the women are politically and economically empowered, I think it will have a solitary effect on the welfare, the development, and the human rights situation in the country. But I should also like to mention one more point, and I think that is very important. There are so many things in the SDGs which can and should be done. There are so many promises and commitments which the government should look into. But there is one which is now becoming more obvious, and which I think also was a purpose of this very assembly, and that is the SDG target 3.8, which is the universal health coverage. And this universal health coverage has become very important because now health, we witnessed in COVID-19 that in the COVID-19, you know, the food security was threatened, and the health now has become a security issue also. And that is why I think that target number 3.8 of the SDGs has become added importance, because we have witnessed what happened in the COVID and how it has brought into focus the need to provide health, to upgrade the health systems of the countries in the region. I can speak of Pakistan, that we need to upgrade that, so that the poor health of the people, which is threatening so many things, that can be obviated. I think that one of the great threats to the health sector is the privatization of the health facilities. And when the health facilities are privatized, the motive is profit, the motive is not welfare. So I think the countries in the region, I can speak for Pakistan, must look into this serious issue, that the privatization of health services is, is a dangerous thing. It must be reversed. The state must assume the responsibility of providing universal health, because now health has become the most critical, if not the most critical, at least one of the most critical areas. I think also that in Pakistan, the health issue is also, you will be surprised to know when I make this comment, is also related to the modern kind of slavery. You might well ask as to how come that? Well, in Pakistan, we have the bonded labor working in the brick kilns. And if you ask the families of the bonded labor as to what brought you here, why did you come here? You could do some labor elsewhere. And they will say, my father, my mother, my sister, my daughter had health issues. We could not afford health facility. So this kill owner loaned us money and to look after the health of my father or my mother. And when I took the loan from him, I that is how he kept me in bondage. So in Pakistan, I can't speak of other countries. Maybe there are also in other countries also, that the health issue is giving rise to modern slavery. Therefore, I think that we should concentrate on SDG 3.8, which is to provide adequate health facilities to the citizens of the country. Therefore, whenever you draft the declaration, my submission would be that we should also include in that. And finally, I would like to say that if the purpose is to increase, enhance the democratic space, then we must take care the issue of the civil society organizations called NGOs and the human rights defenders. The space for them is shrinking day by day, and the governments can't do everything. It is the civil society and the NGOs which can do and which have been doing many of those things which the state and the government should do. However, I have noticed, I've seen that the space for the human rights defenders, civil society organizations is shrinking very fast. That space needs to be recovered again, and that also should be a point in the declaration from my point of view. Thank you very much. If I took more time than what was allotted to me, I'm sorry for that, but I thought I should make these points. Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Babar Saab. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. And I think Babar Saab hit the nerves and the root cause of the problem, that our states are becoming more security states rather than a welfare states, and not looking to the human security, but only territorial security or the interest of the few elites who are on the top of the affairs. Another important point, there is a lot of room for collaboration in the region. Certain problems are beyond the boundaries, are in the spectrum of one country. The climate change is one example, of course. And this recent flooding happening, and always happened from India to Bangladesh, India to Pakistan. And these are just few few examples that why countries need to collaborate. Yeah, women rights issue is very critical, mostly in South Asia. Again, I would say we have a very chronic, South Asians have a very chronic behavior and a high level of gender inequalities in every aspect, from education to health to work to labor force participation. So it's one of the pervasive form of inequality in South Asia. Health coverage, and vividly it came during the COVID. It has both national aspects where governments have to spend more money. Currently in Pakistan, it's less than 1% GDP on health, but it's a similar case in India and South Asia. But there is also global politics of pharmaceutical companies. So they are not giving equal and fair access to the technology. For example, on COVID, so we have colleagues here in the People's Vaccine Alliance fighting for the global fairness in the health system. And then, of course, we all need to fight for the space. We have to elbow out, and democracies without a civic space is meaningless. So it's a on the face, it's a democracy, but it is a totalitarian governments, not including people into it. So thank you once again, Babar Saab, very, very relevant and important points. Now let's move to the last speaker, our colleague from UN Escape, Ms. Hitomi Rankine. She is the Environmental Affairs Officer in Escape. Hitomi, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, sir. I would like to thank very much GCAP for providing this opportunity to address this really important forum, the Asia Regional People's Assembly. It's been a forum that I've been speaking to for some time, and it is one of, I think, one of my favorite forums to really to listen to the issues. I really want to kind of recall where we are right now and how different the world looks compared to the last time that we met in this forum. We see how fast things are changing. Climate change is accelerating. We're losing biodiversity. Livelihoods are being lost. Trade routes are being blocked. And indeed, glaciers are melting. And we see that there is need for regional dialogue. So we can see big changes, and these changes are happening fast. So the issues raised by the videos and the perspectives of the people who have taken their time to share with us their experiences show how influential issues of inequality are now, but also how influential they will be in terms of helping countries or stopping countries from dealing with the issues that we have to deal with, right? We have big changes and we have shrinking civil society space, as the previous speaker has pointed out. How are we going to deal with them, right? Now, with these issues of change, right, and of environmental change in particular, and I will focus on that, we need to look at the most basic resources that we need to support our livelihoods and our economies even, right? Natural resources provide ecosystem services. They provide water, they provide support for food systems, for meeting nutritional needs, and indeed for supporting health. Right? It's the foundation for health, right? And these resources will become increasingly constrained, and increasingly, as they become more constrained, these inequalities will feed all kinds of untoward situations where they become out of reach for the most vulnerable in society. So we need really to look at the issue of resources, who owns them, and their support that they provide to the most vulnerable people, right? And when I say resources, I'm not talking about financial resources here. I'm talking about natural resources, okay? I want to focus on some work that we've been doing on food systems, right? We have at SCAP developed a risk assessment model, which really looks at what are the sources of risk and what are the drivers of risk in food systems. And indeed, of course, climate change is a big driver of risk. But what we have seen in the analysis that we've done is that vulnerability is increasing for Asia and the Pacific as a whole, but for some of the most vulnerable and unequal country, vulnerability can the trend of vulnerability can be tracked and made visible, right, with this index that we have created. We also see that there is increasing instability. In almost every single country, we have a situation of increasing instability where vulnerability has not improved or has been increasing. Now, if you put two of these trends together in food systems, what you're going to see is going to create happening as we go forward, as climate change accelerates, is increasing pockets, new pockets of poverty, new pockets of inequality, new sources of inequality and conflict, right? So I think it's important for the declaration really to track this notion of risk and environmental change and who's at risk and what is going to mean going forward, right? When we come to this draft declaration, which is going to be the outcome of this meeting, I see it as important in terms of galvanizing civil society with a consistent message, right? Especially in the face or in front of regional forums to promote regional cooperation and to support regional norm setting and create peer pressure among countries, right? It's important to strengthen the advocacy through very strong messages. So with respect to the need for regional dialogue on climate, which was also mentioned by the previous speaker, we're working with leading countries that would like to bring countries together for stronger action, right? The Secretary General has talked about the need to reinvigorate multilateralism. It means that we need to work differently with governments and among governments. And the push increasingly is to create coalitions of countries to act. So a question vis-a-vis this draft declaration is how can it support the creation of coalitions of countries with common interests, right? How can we lobby countries to be leaders in certain processes which are going to impact them? This issue of glaciers is a global issue, and we see that Central Asia and South Asia can be leaders in this dialogue, right? I want to also talk about the need to be, in addition to lobbying countries to work together, I would like to call attention to the need to be proactive and ahead of the curve on the issues that are coming. Again, coming back to the changes in environment that we expect, right? Food. Let's understand where civil society stands on food and the right to food and food sovereignty issues, right? This needs to come back into focus, right? Resources, right? Let's look at what are the policies on resource ownership and resource control. We need to watch in particular the policies around water and transboundary water resources. It's a very old issue, but it increasingly needs to be resolved in an effective way, right? And natural resources in terms of the minerals and the mineral rights and what that means for the resources under the ground, under the land that we walk on, and the land that we must farm as small farmers require. What do all these trends mean? So the advocacy must be really ahead of the curve. So health is an important issue, yes, but let's go back to the issue of food. Let's go back to the issue of mineral resources, and let's go back to the issues of water as some examples where we need to strengthen the advocacy and strengthen the eyes, the number of eyes which are on these issues across the region, including through this draft declaration. So with this very brief intervention, I wish the meeting successful discussions and high impact. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tommy, for showing your solidarity and joining the forum from UN Escape. I think we run out of time. We initially thought that we'll take 1 or 2 questions, but just let me close the session before I hand over to Pradeep. I think this poverty and inequality crisis and climate breakdown and governments working only for 1% rich people, not 99%, are the same. It's the same problem. and we need to keep fight. We need solidarity among citizens, and thank you GCAP for convening these type of forums, providing opportunity to the groups, and we need to trust in the people's power. I think all these issues are security issues, climate change, inequality, poverty. They cannot be de-linked from the security state. And all issues are important: health, food security, climate breakdown. But I think also it's important to change the politics in our countries, the way politics works and way the rich and powerful people are behaving and responding to these all challenges is more important. Unless we change the politics, it becomes really difficult to change all these issues. So thank you very much again, all three speakers. It was really a thought-provoking contributions. And now I close this session and I hand over to Pradeep for proceed to the next session of the assembly.
Okay, thanks Mustafa, thanks honorable members of parliament from both Nepal and Pakistan, and our friend Hitomi. I just wanted to announce that we are expecting a video message from UK Member of Parliament, Labour MP, Preet Kaur Gill. We could not get it. We heard that there was some reshuffle within Labour. I'm sure she would have been caught up with that and would have not got enough time for the video. Thank you, colleagues. After that, we will be doing the breakaway session. I'll invite our friend Anselmo Lee, the APSD coordinator, to take us through the breakaway session and the plenary. Anselmo, if you are there, there's so many people I can't see actually. You can unmute and speak, Anselmo.
Hello.
Yeah.
Good morning, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Anselmo Lee from South Korea. I'm the regional coordinator APSD. My session 3, is a parallel breakout session, the thematic discussion. As you know, we have 4 topics, A, B, C, D. The A is the right to health and universal health coverage. B, food hunger, poverty, and inequality, especially universal social protection flows. C, democracy, civic space, and human rights. D, climate justice and disaster risk reduction. So now you can choose one of the 4 breakout sessions. There is a moderator, there is a rapporteur, but to make sure that you have very tight schedule, 25 minutes. So when you finish your discussion, you have to come back to the plenary to report about the outcome of your meeting. Each one 5 minutes. And then as we announced, you are supposed to give us a kind of recommendation which will go into our final declaration from Asia region, and then it will go to the global one. So it's already in the chat box in the screens. So now, Pradeep, can you move now to the breakout session now?
Yeah, I think so. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Hello,
So
Hitomi.
moderators, you can announce the names of the moderators and rapporteurs.
Yeah, moderator, yes. First one, right to health and universal health coverage. You will see Masaki Inaba from Japan and rapporteur Om Malihon. So 2 persons, you will find them in your breakout. So you can choose now. And group 2, food hunger, moderator Rashima Shakya from SAPE and rapporteur Afra from One Singapore. Group 3, democracy, we have Josna from ADA and rapporteur Sam Mori from CCC. Climate justice, we have moderator Becky Malay and the rapporteur Tessa Sevilla, PRRM. So they will be waiting for you at different workshop sessions. Please find your own way to join these breakout sessions.
So there's a breakout room in the bottom. You can click there and then choose your group. Can you see this? We can go now. Josna is not there, so I'll go to the the civic space group to moderate.
I'm trying to find. I cannot see. I don't sign the breakout. Usually there is a.
No, if you scroll, you cannot see.
Okay, let me try.
People are already there. Breakout room. There is a square and 4 square. Otherwise, maybe people, you can assign, Chalitha, try to assign some people into different groups.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll be joining the. Yes.
Now I see here. Okay. Let me go to democracy. So now I'm going to democracy.
Is there anyone have a problem to join the breakout room? Let me know.
ক'ত গ'ল? আৰে মস্ত বেগ দিয়া উঠি গুচি গ'ল নেকি? কি আছে ইয়াত? কি আছে ইয়াত? তাতকে ডাঙৰ নেকি? ডাঙৰ খুলিছে নেকি? কি কৰিব গ'ল ইয়াত? বঢ়িয়া জেগাটো আছিলে।
Hello, welcome back to the plenary. How was the group discussion? We are the only one. Hello.
Yeah, back in main room, all of us.
But still, I see only
Or maybe
33 persons.
no, I think some colleagues will come back, I guess.
Let's
Yes.
wait.
No, I think Chalita, you should close this.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
30
completed.
seconds.
Okay.
30 seconds to go.
Yes, returning. চৌরানব্বই থেকে 98 থেকে 70 নেমে
Shalma, I think all of us are back. Okay, yeah, all of us are back. And Selva, you can then go for presentation one by one. You are still the moderator. Anselmo, are you there or not sure if Anselmo has dropped out? So can we start with the presentation, colleagues, from the first group? Masaki, who is going to, first group is on health. Who is going to present from your group? Very brief, maybe for 5 minutes. You can actually, all the colleagues, all the groups, moderator and reporter, please ensure that whatever notes you have prepared, or if anything coming from the participants, finalize and send it to me by today, so that we have a declaration group which is working, consisting Om, Mariam, and Aditi, who will be finalizing this. I'll also be helping them. But here you can make very brief presentation. First is the health group. Masaki, who is doing it?
Okay, yeah. I will make
Okay.
only 1 or 2 minutes. Yeah. One is how say the time was very short, so that firstly I made a presentation with the my slide about the current picture of the global health issues, including the pandemic and also the universal health coverage and many kinds of issues, and also provided some opportunities, and including the pandemic treaty negotiation, IHL amendment, and also universal health coverage, high-level meeting of UN, and these kind of issues. Also that we and also that I focused on the changing of the trade and global trade rules, and also the economic political systems to fit the right to health. And about the opinions and the comments provided by the participants. One is the emphasizing the importance of the TRIPS waiver, and also that for the technology transfer and technology sharing through this kind of changing of the trade rules. It is of course it is very much important issues and to achieve the right to health access. So that so this is one issue, and also that we the other comments about the the access of the health services of the people with disability, and these kind of points of the leaving no one behind is also very important aspects of the universal health coverage. So that we we need to focus on these kind of issues and changing the rules, and also that ensuring the access of the health services for everyone. So thank you very much. This is our
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Masaki. Please send the notes to me. You or whoever
yes,
has sent the
of course.
notes. And then the second group, food, hunger, and poverty. Resma and Afra, who is going to present?
Hi, Pradeep. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, if so, then I'll just quickly present what we spoke about. So the main context was that how millions of people in Asia are still suffering from hunger and malnutrition, given that we already have so many policies and programs in action yet, and especially given the pandemic has happened, this has escalated poverty and food insecurity, especially creating problems for the marginalized community. So we have had different opinions from a number of participants. However, the most common thing that has come up from the discussion was the discriminated groups, the marginalized groups, people, and it's not just about food, hunger, or poverty. It's just that they do not even have the proper access to opportunities. So, for example, the discriminated people, they are being discriminated due to their descent and also for the type of work they're doing. And since they are not being able to get the opportunities, they are not being able to come out of that situation either way. So it's in this vicious cycle that they are continuously in. Second, there has been also mention about trade in food, which is undermining the people's right. So it's very important as a community to recognize the rights. For example, for farmers, they just don't need access to food, but also to land. So we need to go into the very deep root at this point. Also, climate change has been a point of discussion, especially to women who are earning, and the fishermen who have faced difficulty to work because they work on a day-to-day basis, so they were unable to work due to climate change. Livestock were dying, and then fields were uprooted, so they had not just limited access to food but also to work. So overall, it's not just food, hunger, or poverty, but it's the cycle that they are not being able to come out from. So and also one important thing was that the focus needs to be on rural level as well, that local level, not just national level, because in national level they still have access to government assistance and everything, but the rural people, they are not being able to go out or even raise their voices. So this was something that has been discussed, and yeah, I'll share the notes with you.
Okay, thank you, Resma and Afra. And then the third group is on democracy, civic space, and human rights. I moderated it. Maybe Sir Mori from Cooperation Committee of Cambodia can share it.
Hi, Pradeep and everyone. So I would like to brief the result of the discussion from the breakout session 3 on democracy, civic space, and human rights. So we have identified several issues happening in the region, especially first is the issue of national security state that affect human rights, democracy, gender, and marginalized group, and increasing militarization and polarization in the society, especially in Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, that cause to social division, civil and political rights are being controlled and shrunk. And another concern is NGO has shifting their work approach from advocacy to development work. So the recommendation for this issue, we call on the People Assembly to condemn the security state in the region. And another thing is the similar challenge in Southeast Asia region, the decline of democracy, increasing militarization in the region, like in Myanmar, and the government has created restrictive law and regulation to restrict NGO, civil society, and this restrict law and regulation limited the ability of CSO in operating their activity, especially in Indonesia, Cambodia, Thailand, Myanmar, and India as well. And this law also limited the funding from outside the country as well. And the recommendation is call on the government and the state to ensure to respect and protect fundamental freedom, especially the right to freedom of association and expression. And we need more collective action to raise voices at the national and regional platform. And the last point I would like to add the current situation in Cambodia and as well as in the region as well is about the internet censorship and the repression of media freedom. So the recommendation is states all ensure that the internet shall be free, open, and secure for everyone. Thank you. So I will send the result to you, Pradeep. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Mori. In fact, we did discuss all these points, and specifically the group calls upon the Asia Assembly to condemn the rising security state and fundamentalist state. So I think that's acceptable to all colleagues. Okay, so the last group is on climate change, disaster risk reduction, Becky and Tessa. Becky, who is going to share?
I will report, Pradeep.
Becky. Yeah, please. Tessa,
All right.
Okay.
So under climate justice and disaster risk reduction, so we discussed the impacts of climate change, especially on food security, water, and ecosystems. So as part of the discussions, there are key things that were mentioned, like now we have a special focus or attention on climate justice, and there are convergence of different movements to address the issues collectively. There was also discussion on climate financing commitments, especially from multinational companies. So governments need to ensure green energy sources, not deviating from fossil fuels, alongside civil society groups, to create the beautiful and counter the terrible, as Manish puts it. And government should divest public funds from this industrial, agriculture, and fossil fuels to agroecology and renewable energy alternatives. Another point that he raises emphasize the common but differentiated responsibilities, so that wealthy industrialized countries must scale up climate financial contributions in the form of grants, and in particular allocation of funds to address climate-induced loss and damage. Then we also discussed about what is happening at the local level in different countries. Like Dr. Basuda shared that at the school levels, India, they actually try to involve more students and educate them by doing activities like seed bombing programs in schools. As shared by Musfik, to address climate change affects the livelihood of poor people. So the poverty situation in this country is that it creates more vulnerable children, because fathers leave their families to migrate to the cities, and mothers are left to fend for their families. And so this results in more street children living in the streets out of poverty, and because of the results of abusive environments. So these are the effects of the lack of climate justice as perceived by our participants. And finally, there was also mention of, we also forget the livelihood of coastal communities or families, because with the change of ecosystems, coastal communities are greatly affected, especially their livelihood. So as Farah suggested, it is important that communities understand what sustainable development is, so that they can fight for their rights, and that we can ask mighty corporations to provide funding resources to mitigate the climate risks, and be able to voice out and fight for what is truly right for these communities that have been heavily impacted by climate change and climate risks. So that's from our group.
Okay, thanks Becky and Tessa. for doing the presentation. I have a small point to add here, colleagues. I think Gia, we now can open this floor for about 5 minutes discussion. Gia, be very brief, very brief.
Okay, I think the suggestion given by Mr. Faratullah Babar regarding the regional collaboration on climate crisis was a wonderful suggestion, and I think the Assembly should recommend through the communique.
And yeah, Hitami also suggested the same. Yeah. Thanks. Very quickly from my side is India is being applauded for its initiatives on transition from the traditional energy system to renewable energy system. And India is kind of a leader, global leader on that. And we are moving to doing 50% of transitioning by 2035 and complete transitioning by 2070 or something. I have to check the years. The irony is the kind of policies that government is taking. On one hand, at the international level, we see governments, India government saying that we are doing taking a lot of initiatives to transition from the traditional to the renewable energy system. On the other hand, the forest laws are being seriously diluted to give these forest lands to facilitate the transfer of forest lands to big corporates. In recent amendments on forest laws of India, series of amendments, almost 25% of forest which were considered as deemed forest, which were declared by Supreme Court at one point and would actually have been protected. Now all these will go to the corporate for whatever. That's one point I wanted to raise. See also the dangers behind this whole concept of renewable energy. And the electric vehicles are coming up in place of the vehicles which are driven by fossil fuel, petrol or diesel. For creating the battery, cobalt mining is happening in some of the African countries. So it's not that renewable energy is solution to everything. We have to actually hit upon reducing on our consumption and production needs. That will to a good extent solve the crisis of climate change, not just renewable energy. There are several intricacies involved in this concept, and we probably dig more into that. That's my suggestion on the climate change. Colleagues, if we do not have any suggestion, any more questions or discussion, we can then go to maybe last 1 minute if anybody wants to speak. Otherwise, I'll request my colleague Ijal to give to the Thanksgiving. Before I invite Ijal, kindly send this to me. We'll compile our team, which is working on the declaration. We'll set it as a regional people's declaration. We'll send it to you, all of you. Kindly share it with your own government, post it on social media, and also send it to the UN systems. And we'll take the messages, key messages from Asia Regional People's Assembly to the Global People's Assembly, as I told before also. And we will be presenting the voices of communities and a recommendation of the civil society from here in New York in the global, Global People's Assembly, which is to be held on 17 and 18. And I understand that there will also be an interface between the UN systems and all of us as Global People's Assembly in New York at some point, so that we also deliver these messages. Okay, I invite our colleague and friend, Secretary General of Asia Democracy Network, Ijal, to do the Thanksgiving. Ijal, if you are there, yeah.
Thank you, Pradeep, for giving me opportunity to close the session. I'm not always there to accompany the process, but I always supportive to Pradeep and GCAP initiative from even since the beginnings. I think I heard today the voices of the communities, parliamentarians, CSO leaders about the right, democracy, the very basic rights of the peoples, and then about the climate. What giving me a real connection here, I learned in many forums, our activists, many activists, many civil society actors, member parliaments, and the grassroots, even community-based organization are still struggle the same. They're looking a new way to fight, to consolidating themselves, as well as to have a more bargain positions to the governments, which is turned to be authoritarians. I think friends from Cambodia, Myanmar, and other colleagues already addressing this. Previously, we blamed pandemic for worsening the situation of democracy, human rights, and many others very unfortunate situation to our society. But now, 1 year ahead after the pandemic, the situation is not changed. We realize there is a big thing happening now where the authoritarianism is increased, where the capitalism as well as the oligarch is controlling all aspects of the politics, social, economic, and even people welfare. I think this conversation will not answer everything, but we're keen to learn each other what will be the outcome. Next 2 months, even the democracy community will gathering in Bangkok on the Assembly of Democracy in Asia. Perhaps we're discussing different thematic conference, thematic issue, as well as to discussing plans forwards. I think it's very important for declaration of this conference to be heard over there. And I'm providing and willing to providing space to introducing this kind of declaration of conference that all issues can be connected together. Finally, I thank all the people, seniors, Pradeep and GCAP, and I saw a few friends there. I cannot naming all one by one, but my sincere solidarity is there, as well as our full support for this kind of initiative in the coming future. Thank you so much for giving me opportunity for speaking at the end, and then looking forward for the future cooperations, connections, and endeavors. Return back to you, Pradeep.
Okay, Chal, thank you very much. Thanks all the colleagues, honorable members of parliament, and the most importantly, the community voices and civil society voice. Thanks also Chalitha for Zoom management, Divine for social media, and Joanna for social media, and our colleagues will be doing also the declaration, Om, Aditi, and Mariam, and thanks Suraj and Siddharth for translation. Thanks, colleagues. Let's continue with our cooperation and take the messages to the global level. Thank you very much. In fact, yeah.
Let us have a photo session. Take
Come again,
advantage of
Vicky.
a photo session.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, yes,
I
yes,
can
yes,
take the
yes.
photo.
Let's do that.
Just
And just to announce, make another announcement, colleagues, whoever of you are in New York, please do join us in the Global People's Assembly, which is happening in the UN Church Center on 17 and 18. I'll be sending an invitation. I'm not sure if it has gone or not. But press invitation will go. Even if you are not in New York, you can join the assemblies online also on the 17 and 18. So I'll be sending those invitations to you. So, okay. Who is taking the photographs?
I can take the
Chalitha?
photo.
Okay.
Okay.
Switch on audio videos and
Right. Can
yeah.
everyone just hold?
How
Yeah.
do you do, Anselmo? This way? Yeah.
3 fingers, yes.
All right. 1, 2,
Solidarity to
3.
Myanmar.
Myanmar.
All right. Please hold. There are 4 pages. I'll take photos now.
Okay, Pradeep, you are going to New York, right? Next week.
We're good.
Yes, some of us, yes.
All right. We're good. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good to
Thank
see
you,
you all.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
বলে হাতার ইয়ের সব সদস্যদের ছিলেন না এমন একটা আমরা হুনিয়েছি এটার মধ্যে সব বলে A to Z সব বলে সেই চালায় সেই মুখে তো সব তার এত বছর ধরে সে শেখায়।
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lalitha, you can close it.